And fizzle. Happy Friday, everybody, or happy WandaVision Day, as a lot of you have dubbed it. Today we got the finale to Season 1 of WandaVision. This is a show that I haven't talked about every single episode. I've talked about it twice thus far. I did a episode 1 through 3 review because I got a preview of the show. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to feel about it. Liked the novelty of it. Thought the acting and the production value was outstanding, but wasn't really sucked into the story. I wasn't sure if this was the best thing to kick off the MCU in this newest phase. Came back a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was after episode 7, and had a video titled I Was Wrong about WandaVision, because at the time, my biggest gripe with the show up to that point was that I really felt like it would have functioned better for me personally as a show that was released all at once, like a lot of the binging shows that we get nowadays. And what I started to realize over probably week 6, week 7 of this show is that it really was fun kind of seeing and interacting with a lot of the fans of this show with all the speculation and the theories and the debunking and, you know, anticipating every Friday to figure out who was right, who was wrong, and then reformulating all your theories for the next week. That was a fun little journey, and even though it's a bitch to avoid spoilers when you release it that way, I decided that I was wrong. This is a show that functions very well as a week-to-week. Now we have the whole package, and again, my thoughts have kind of shifted on this show. I will be talking at length about the finale, but overall with the show, I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like about it now that we have the full first season. So starting off with the positives for WandaVision Season 1, the main one is the acting between both Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. Elizabeth Olsen's probably the one that's going to be the standout because this really is her show. Vision's kind of the side character to her journey, but they're both outstanding. They both have been great characters in the MCU, but neither one have really gotten a chance to shine, especially Vision. Vision was all but wasted in those Avengers movies. And this show really does highlight not only how great of a duo these two characters are, but how great these two actors are, and how great these characters are in this universe to the point where I really do want more. If nothing else, when I walk away from this show, even if I don't want more WandaVision, I do want more Wanda and Vision. I also love the novelty of attacking the different eras of sitcoms. That was the thing that I loved from the beginning. That was the thing that I loved all the way throughout it. And that's one of the main things that I love now that it is over. When it starts off and it's these old 50s sitcoms and they're highlighting the aesthetics and the style and the execution of that era to perfection. And that always impresses me, how directors and actors and cameramen and cinematographers can just recreate that era. Just go strip themselves all the way back down to the basics and recreate that era. And they did it fantastically in this show, all the way through from the 50s shows to like the Brady Bunch era to my favorite episode, which was like the Malcolm in the Middle episode, because that kind of was my era of sitcoms. And I was never a Modern Family fan, never really got into that show, but I still even like how they can recreate that and just kind of give little winks. So the production value, the acting, the cinematography, everything regarding recreating these eras of sitcoms was awesome. Absolutely loved the story focus and the emotion and the pain and just the depth that they brought to Wanda in this show. Overall, this is a show about Wanda's grief and her way to expel that grief, her way to kind of make herself whole again. You know, for the first 4 or 5 episodes of the show, you're really not quite sure what's going on. You understand that some of it's fake. All of us understand that Vision is supposed to be dead, so who's this guy? And there's so many questions. And when you finally start to get some of those revelations about how she's kind of created this own world of her own, and it's blocked off with this big red digital cube, and nobody can come in, nobody can come out. She controls everything, and she's basically enslaving this community to fill the hole within her heart. And that's just a very huge and very profound way to explore that character and the events of the last 2 Avengers film and how it has affected her. Because for all the gigantic moments that we got in Infinity War and in Endgame, a lot of the big ones is all the fan service moments, the Captain America and Mjolnir, and, you know, Tony Stark snapping his fingers and everybody working together to kick ass. Nobody really ever talks about, oh man, but that's screwed up. She lost Vision and then he got revived and then she lost him again, and she probably could have destroyed Thanos herself with all of her anger and pain. It's a really interesting way to kind of sidebar from all of the huge blockbuster movies and focus on the effects of those movies on just this one character. Moving on to the mixed aspects of this show, the main one that I have is just the length of the episodes. There was a lot of speculation a couple of weeks ago about the last couple episodes being an hour plus, because people were doing this math with, statements, broad statements that were made months ago by Kevin Feige. And at the end of the show, every episode is between about 40 to 47 minutes, somewhere in that range. And what I understand about that is that when they're trying to recreate sitcoms, you can't really have hour-long sitcoms, so I understand trying to keep that breakneck pace to kind of keep that aesthetic going, as well as it keeping a show that doesn't have a whole lot of fat to it. There's some filler here and there, but overall, the show really felt like it handled a lot of story, a lot of revelations, a lot of secrets, a lot of twists and turns, and did it very quickly, and I can appreciate that because it's easier to get into a show that you can just watch for 45 minutes, get a whole hell of a lot out of it, a lot to talk about, a lot to speculate about, and then you just wait till the next week. The negative side of that is that I do feel like a lot of the show's big moments felt rushed. They felt like they were just kind of quickened a lot. There's a whole lot of sidebar going on where you have the sitcom stuff going on within this little blip that Wanda has created, and then everything outside of that with S.W.O.R.D. and with all these side characters and even some of the revelations later on and different characters' perspectives. I feel like you could have made hour-long episodes and it would have made a perfectly fine sense. It wouldn't have taken away from that aesthetic from the length of sitcoms too much, I don't believe. So there were some times in the show where you would start the show and it just felt like reveal, please stand by, and you're like, what the, I just fucking started, what the hell? Especially as the show got along, like about halfway through the season to the end, I definitely think the last 4 or 5 episodes could have been a little bit longer, could have let some of these things breathe a little bit more and not felt so fast to get to the end of every episode, to get to the end of this season. Would have liked to be able to marinate in it a little bit more. And the other main mixed aspect of this season is the finale itself. Now, this is going to be the lengthier part of this review, but I just got done watching it. This is an episode that we have all been speculating about. Is there going to be reveals of secondary villains? What's been going on with Pietro? Is that really Pietro? Is it somebody else? Is that the multiverse Pietro? Is that actually Evan Peters from the Quicksilver in the X-Men universe? What the hell's going on there? Is there going to be some huge, gigantic cameo that comes in? Because I don't remember which actor, but one of them said something along those lines, and that's just been one of the main things that people are speculating. Oh, we haven't got that big cameo yet. And you're wondering, is it going to be Magneto? Is it going to be Wolverine? Is it going to be Doctor Strange? And there was just so much speculation going on about what huge reveals we're going to have in this finale to just keep us chomping at the bit for whatever is coming next in the MCU. Well, that's the double-edged sword of speculation, because there really wasn't anything revealed in this episode. It was basically all just an action scene and some emotional payoff for the Wanda storyline. That's about it. Pietro, that really went nowhere. The whole big cameo thing, I guess that was just them dick teasing us or trolling us, or maybe Paul Bettany was joking and saying, oh, the other Vision is the greatest actor, and that's the guy that I was talking about myself to be a little bit of a self-aware dickhead. Or if Wanda did it, maybe she was talking about Pietro episodes ago, and we're like, nah, that can't be it. Who the hell knows? But a lot of the big questions, a lot of the big speculations, a lot of the big theories, a lot of the big, oh, is this going to happen? Questions that was going on in social media for the past week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, none of that came to fruition. It was kind of like a Last Jedi thing where they were like, yeah, all that shit that you were speculating out, none of that matters. Here's your episode.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
And while I did find the episode overall to be a satisfying story conclusion for this season, and definitely a satisfying, bittersweet, heartfelt, emotional conclusion to Wanda's storyline throughout this entire season, I thought that side of it was done very well and was really emotional. Everything else was just kind of The action sequences, we've seen way, way, way better action in the MCU. This was basically 2 floating people throwing different colored orbs at each other, and then 2 separate floating people, one white, one colorful, that were just running into each other the whole time. And that was the action that we got for this 45 minutes, and it was so disjointed and so poorly choreographed to where I was just like, okay, I'm getting bored with this visual aesthetic you're giving me of just we're shooting lights at each other. Can we get something else? I mean, you could have done something along the lines of like Spider-Man Far From Home, which they kind of went into Agatha's mind for a second, and I thought it was going to go there, to where you get this Mysterio thing where all of a sudden all these visions and everything are coming through, and Wanda's really doing this mental manipulation. You could have done some cool stuff with that and saved your budget a little bit, but just people flying into each other for 40 minutes? Nah. I also thought that it was a little disappointing story-wise to have Wanda just fly away and not really accept any of the consequences or the own up to anything that she's done. I feel like that's not very heroic of her, which maybe is part of the storyline that they're going to be coming up with later on. I don't know if Wanda turns into a villain at some point or a complicated character. I really don't know. But to me, I felt like her journey throughout this episode was understanding all of the pain that she's causing. Like whenever all the people turn on her and they're like, just kill us, just let us die if you're not going to let us leave. I feel like there was such a big character growth opportunity for her to just stand there when all the sirens and everything are coming in and just be like, yep, I did it, take me in, I'm willing to fess up to what I did, you know, be the hero. And she just flies away. And I was like, oh, okay. So now everybody hates you. Now you're a villain. Weird. Really dissatisfied with what they decided to do with Evan Peters. I mean, just simply saying, oh, he's this random guy with the last name Boner.
Why?
And that's it. He was just a random dude controlled by Agatha. That's lame. I mean, you don't use an actor. I guess what they were just going for that little visual sight gag of, hey, it's the dude that played Quicksilver in the other universe. Isn't that cool? Okay, well now we're not doing anything else with him. That's really disappointing. When you have people that are like on the edge of their seat for years now, wondering how the MCU is going to integrate the X-Men, and you have that right there, even if you don't want to give us a solid answer, just kind of leaving some kind of a hint there that there's going to lead to something, and maybe it will. Just saying, oh, he's just a random guy. That was like, okay, whatever. And then on to the 2 post-credit scenes. Yes, there's 2, so if you missed one, go back and check it out. You have the one where the alien being, what is it, the scroll, I'm going to get the name wrong. The green alien beings that were in Captain Marvel come to take that character to be presumably in Captain Marvel 2. And that was something that people had already known about because that character is integral to the Captain Marvel storyline. So that's cool. Okay, whatever. I'm not a big fan of the Captain Marvel movie, but that's fine. Then you get the second post-credit scene where Wanda is off in seclusion by herself, and now she's got like a split personality thing going. What was that? So she's regular Wanda, and then the Scarlet Witch side of her is like floating around and casting spells and shit, and I don't really know what that was supposed to convey. Is she now herself, and then the Scarlet Witch side of her is the stronger half, and is it going to be this battling personality thing, or what was that all about? So I don't know. The 2 post-credit scenes, I was like, okay, lead into a sequel I don't care about, and then giving me a scene that I don't know how to interpret. Not really the best way to end for me. So overall with the finale, I was like, okay, you ended Wanda's storyline pretty damn well. It was emotional, saying goodbye to Vision and the kids, all that stuff, tear-jerking. Everything else, I really feel like they misstepped with. And now, unfortunately, the one negative that I have to go for, which is something that now I'm gonna feel like I've flip-flopped on a bunch of times, which is not really a me thing to do. For me personally, it was a negative watching this over 9 weeks instead of just having it all at once. I understand, like I said in my what I was wrong about WandaVision video, I understand the benefits of that. I understand, the anticipation week to week and getting to discuss it and getting to speculate and getting to theorize, and it makes it more fun versus just getting it dropped all at once and here, you have all your answers right there if you just want to sit and binge it. But for me personally, for my own selfish existence, for my own enjoyment of this show, by the end, with that finale in mind, I think I would have walked away liking this show more if I could have just ingested it all at once and then walked away talking about the whole thing. I think a lot of the speculation online and the theorizing, as much as it was starting to get really fun in the middle there for me and I started to be on board and kind of get swayed to that camp, now that I'm at the finale, I'm thinking, okay, a lot of that speculation and theorizing actually made this show weaker for me by the end because all of the things that all of us were talking about were more interesting than what we got. And that's the double-edged sword of speculation right there. That was the thing that bit all of us in the ass when we watched The Last Jedi, and here it is again with WandaVision. A lot of you probably are satisfied with it. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but for me personally, when we have all these theorizations about who's this character, is this going to be this big reveal, who's this big cameo, is this going to be a shock, and the finale comes and it's just like, nope, it's just a regular old story closed, nothing really big revealed here. That makes the show weaker for me. And if I wouldn't have had access to all of that week to week and just letting those questions pour through on Twitter day after day after day after day, I think I could have ingested these 9 episodes in one sitting or 2 sittings and been pretty satisfied with what I got and walked up here and say, hey, you know, it was a cool little novelty thing. There was some good storyline. I liked what they did with Wanda. I want to see more of them. And I'm curious about some of these things. Maybe they'll come back into play, but you know, they were minimalistic enough to where they were cool if nothing else. But because I had to wait week to week, they weren't just cool if they don't go anywhere. Now it's like, okay, you pissed me off because you could have done so much more, and it's just like, nah. So overall, guys, I enjoyed the show. I'm still on board with the MCU. I mean, there's nothing that the MCU has given me that I have flat out disliked. I mean, at worst, it's like, okay, that was decent. And they have not fumbled below that yet. And WandaVision is far above decent. It's very good, but there was just a few missteps along the way and some things that I think could have made the experience a lot better for me. And now we have to anticipate Falcon and Winter Soldier. Can't get that Captain America out of my head. That's probably one that I will do week-to-week reviews on because, as you guys know that have followed me for a while, Captain America is my favorite of the MCU. The Captain America trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies of all time, and I cannot wait for this show. So WandaVision overall, very satisfying and very unsatisfying at the same time. Very cool, interesting dynamic, something very unique for the MCU, and I feel like for the most part they pulled it off. Just a few missteps along the way that I think binging would have probably alleviated for me personally. So if you guys love the MCU, you have already been watching this show and you don't even need my approval, but as far as everybody else, if you were on the fence, if you weren't really sure, I definitely think it's worth your time. Not the best of the MCU like a lot of people were saying along the way for me personally, but I do think it's worth checking out. So go to Disney Plus and stream it. So what did you guys think of this season of WandaVision? Were you kind of along the ride with me where you weren't sure at first and then got excited and then kind of fizzled by the end? Did you think it was brilliant all the way through? Did you love the finale? Did you hate the finale? Let me know all your thoughts down below, and are you excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Let me know that down below. We will talk about it. Like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. I do have a lot of MCU and DC content. I do a lot of horror movie reviews and rankings and things like that too. So there's a whole bevy of stuff that you can check out if this is your first time seeing me. And hit that subscribe button so you can see that week-to-week review of Falcon and Winter Soldier coming up here in a couple of weeks. So thank you guys for watching. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.